If you love board games but don't love cleaning up the mess afterwards, I've got the perfect solution for you. Today I'm diving into the world of cozy digital board games. No missing pieces, no reshuffling, just good vibes and a great gameplay. I've got a mix of cute, relaxing and slightly brain-bending, mostly tabletop games that you can play solo, with friends or like-minded strangers. So grab a cup of tea, get comfy and let's get into it. Let's kick things off with number 10, Chessarama, a game that takes chess and gives it a fun puzzle-like twist. I have never been the biggest chess player. I always liked the idea of it, but the whole memorizing openings and deep strategy side of it, not really my thing. But Chessarama makes chess feel way more approachable and honestly way more fun. Instead of just playing regular chess, this game gives you a bunch of different game modes that take the basic rules of chess and flip them into creative challenges. Some of them are more puzzle-like, where you have to move specific pieces in a certain way to clear an objective. Others feel like mini strategy games that still keep that classic chess vibe, but without the overwhelming feeling of having to be 5 moves ahead at all times. I also really like the way it looks. The art style is very clean and colorful, making the whole game feel cozy instead of intimidating. And depending on the mode you pick, you'll be playing chess in all kinds of different settings, like a little farm or a medieval battlefield. It's such a fun way to experience chess without the usual pressure. So if you've always liked the idea of chess but never really got into it, or if you love chess and want to experience it in a fresh way, Chessarama is definitely worth checking out. Next up we have Everdell, a board game that feels like a fairy tale world you get to build yourself. You're in charge of a little woodland village, gathering resources, expanding your town, and inviting different animals to move in. It's got a mix of card play and strategy, but wrapped up in the coziest little package. If this game sounds familiar, that's because it's based on the popular physical board game of the same name. The digital version brings all of the charm of the original, but with animated backgrounds, helpful tooltips, and the option to play solo against AI or online with friends. It's a great way to experience Everdell without needing to set up a physical board, especially if you don't always have a group to play with. The art style is beautiful. Everything looks like it was drawn for a book. And the beautifully drawn tiny forest animals running their own little shops and businesses just make the whole thing even cuter. You'll see crow teachers, rabbit shopkeepers, and even a mouse queen. It really sells the idea of a tiny world hidden in the trees. This game did take me a little while to fully grasp, and I have never played the physical version of it. So the mechanics aren't too complicated, but there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to balancing your resources, playing cards, and planning ahead for seasonal changes. So if you like strategy games that don't feel too overwhelming and enjoy a cozy storybook-style world, this one's a great pick. Now let's switch things up a bit with our number 8, For the King. A game that brings a board game-style adventure to life with turn-based combat and strategic exploration. It's part roguelike, part tabletop RPG, and all about taking your party of adventurers on a journey filled with danger and surprises. The game plays like a cooperative board game where you and your team take turns moving across a hex-based map, battling enemies, collecting loot, and making tough choices that shape your adventure. What I really like is that For the King works just as well solo as it does in co-op. You can play by yourself, controlling all of your characters, or you can grab some friends and take on the adventure together. Either way, the game forces you to think ahead, manage your resources wisely, and decide when to take risks or play it safe. The art style is charmingly low-poly, giving it this distinct tabletop feel, almost like little figurines moving around a handcrafted board. And the soundtrack? It's got that grand adventurous tone that makes every battle just a little bit more dramatic than they probably should be. I was a bit hesitant putting this one on the list, as it doesn't play out as a classic board game, but I just like this game too much to leave it out, and I think that if you love turn-based strategy games with that classic tabletop feel, For the King is a great one to check out. Next up at number 7 is Dicey Dungeons, a game that takes the classic board game concept of rolling dice and turns it into a fast-paced, slightly chaotic and surprisingly funny roguelike adventure. The whole thing is set up like a bizarre game show where contestants, who have all been turned into literal dice, compete for a chance to win, well, probably nothing, because Lady Luck, the host, is definitely not on your side. The game plays out like a digital board game with turn-based combat. You roll dice each turn and use them to activate different abilities. Different characters have different playstyles, so every run feels fresh. And the humor is really what makes it shine. The writing is fun, the characters have great personality, and there's just a playful energy to everything that keeps it from feeling too repetitive. One thing I really like is that Dicey Dungeons isn't just a one-and-done kind of game. There are different episodes for each character, which introduce new mechanics and challenges. And on top of that, there are special event updates like the Halloween and reunion specials, which add even more fun twists to the gameplay. It's a great game to pick up when you want something strategic but still lighthearted. The dice rolling adds a fun randomness, the humor keeps things entertaining, and the variety of challenges means there's always something new to try. Now, number 6 feels like it was tailor-made for cozy gamers. Quilts and Cats of Calico is the perfect mix of crafting, cats, and board game strategy. It's based on the real-life board game Calico, and it turns the experience into a digital version filled with soft colors, relaxing gameplay, and, of course, cats. The core gameplay is all about placing colorful hexagonal quilt pieces onto a board to create patterns. While creating those patterns, you also collect buttons and attract cats to your quilt. There are different ways to play. You can just sit back and enjoy the casual play, go through the story mode, or try the Master Quilters Challenge, which, I'll be honest, can be pretty tough. One of my favorite features is that you can pet the cats. And even better, you can create your own custom cats that will show up in your game. The whole game has a soft, warm palette that just makes you feel instantly cozy. Everything about it, from the gentle animations to the sound design, feels like it was made for a quiet, relaxing gaming session. At number 5, we have Preserve. Preserve is a peaceful, nature-building game where you're restoring different ecosystems by placing plants, trees, and animals in a way that lets them thrive. The atmosphere is so calming. The gentle soundtrack, the soft color palette, and the way the landscape slowly comes to life all make it feel like a game designed specifically for unwinding. You just carefully place elements to create a beautifully balanced environment. There are 3 different ways to play: Harmony mode, where you get rewards based on earned points; Puzzle mode, which adds a bit more challenge for those who like strategic thinking; and Creative mode, where you can truly, freely create your little preserve. There are also different biomes in the game. You get to build up forests, savannas, and even a marine biome. Each has its own unique look and challenges, and it's fun experimenting with different plant and animal combinations to create a sustainable habitat. Gameplay-wise, it's super easy to learn, but still manages to be engaging. Since it's still in early access, I'm really excited to see how it evolves. But even in its current state, Preserve already feels like a cozy gem. Coming up at number 4 is Wildfrost. a roguelike deck builder that manages to be both cozy and strategic at the same time. The art style immediately pulled me in, being bold, expressive, and full of personality and color. Every card, from heroes to enemies to items, are genuinely interesting to look at. And that is a big plus for me, as it makes even the toughest battles feel playful. Each run starts with you choosing a new hero, and from there you build your deck as you battle your way through the frozen world. But what makes Wildfrost fun is that the town you're building stays the same, even if you lose a run. So even if you fail, which you will because that's just how this game goes, it never feels frustrating. Instead, it's all about progression, unlocking new cards, growing your town, and getting stronger for your next attempt. Also, you are constantly unlocking new heroes, charms, and cards that give you different playstyles to try out. The more you play, the more you discover new synergies and ways to experiment with your deck. There are also daily challenges and extra modes that add even more variety. I absolutely adore this game. It's so easy to pick up and has this perfect feel of playing a card game but in a very upgraded way. I think that if you've ever been curious about roguelike card games but weren't sure where to start, this one is a great game to start with. Dorfromantik is the kind of game that makes you breathe out all the stress you didn't even realize you were holding onto. It's simple and slow-paced, and I think it's one of the most peaceful games I've ever played. At its core, Dorfromantik is a tile placement game where you gently expand the landscape by setting down hexagonal tiles. You're creating villages, forests, rivers, and train tracks, all while trying to complete little challenges that pop up. If you're in the mood for a purely cozy experience, you can just place tiles however you want and enjoy the meditative vibe. But if you like a bit of challenge, there's also a score-based mode where you try to beat your own high score by completing objectives and making efficient tile placements. It's a nice balance between creativity and strategy where you can play however feels best in the moment. The whole game is designed to be relaxing. From the soft color palette to the gentle background music, it's just a full-on cozy escape. And unlike traditional board games where you might be battling against friends or AI, Dorfromantik is all about the quiet joy of creating something beautiful. So if you're looking for a game that lets you zone out and unwind, then this one is an easy recommendation. At the very honorable second place, we have Wingspan. If you've ever wanted to build a beautiful bird sanctuary without leaving your couch, Wingspan is the way to go. It's a digital adaptation of the award-winning board game, and while I haven't played the physical version myself, I'd love to know in the comments which one you prefer, because I am in love with this one. This is a strategy-based card game where you collect and manage birds, each with their own unique abilities and habitats. The goal is to create the most balanced and efficient ecosystem by carefully placing birds, managing resources, and making smart decisions. One of my favorite things about Wingspan is the attention to detail. The UI is smooth and intuitive, making it easy to navigate between different habitats and plan out your next move. And then there's the bird calls. Each species has its own real-life sound, which adds such a nice touch. It's a little thing, but it really makes a difference. The game also gives you different ways to play. You can go solo against AI, play local co-op, or hop online for a match. It's such a beautiful and calming game, and Wingspan proves that strategy games don't have to be stressful. If you love slow-paced, thoughtful gameplay with a gorgeous aesthetic, this one you'll want to add to your list. The number one spot was quite an easy pick for me. It is the Great Balatro. And consider this your official warning. You play this game at your own risk. Because once you start, you might not stop, and I say that with love. Balatro is a roguelike deck-building poker game that takes a classic card game and cranks it up to unreal levels of strategy and creativity. You use different joker cards, multipliers, and combos to build the strongest hand possible. But unlike traditional poker, you're not here to win against other players, you're here to break the game, and the possibilities are endless. Every run feels different because there's so much to unlock. From wild jokers to game-changing tarot cards. You think you have a solid strategy, and then suddenly you get a new joker that completely flips your approach upside down. It's the kind of game that keeps pulling you back in because there's always something new to try. It's no surprise that Balatro won multiple awards at the Game Awards 2024 because it really does feel like a modern classic. And with the recent updates, we've even got decorative King, Queen and Jack cards inspired by other games like, for example, Stardew Valley and Don't Starve, which is just chef's kiss for any cozy gaming fan. If you love deck builders, strategy games, or just getting completely hooked on something for hours and hours, Balatro is an absolute must-play, but don't say I didn't warn you. And that's my top 10 list of my favorite digital board games. But now I'm curious, do you have a favorite digital board game? And are you more into the calm, no pressure vibes of something like Dorfromantik, or do you prefer the addictive challenge of a game like Balatro? Let me know in the comments, I'm always looking for new recommendations. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up so I know to make more like it. And if you're into cozy games, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more recommendations coming soon. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.